How you been, Kelly?
I've been good. It's been
Yeah,
crazy actually. Like we've been very busy
yeah,
business wise, but it's just um personally it's boring. Because you can't go to a restaurant, you can't have drinks with your friends or
yeah.
chill out and stuff. And so that part of it is not fun.
No. Are you working from home right now?
Yeah, I'm working from home right now. Yep.
Yeah, I love
And
it.
we have the offices open. We're allowed to do appointments and
Okay.
things under the current restrictions. Um, at our offices, all socially distanced and all that. But I actually quite like working from home, so it's good.
I love it. It's
I do
comfortable.
too. I do too. The only thing is, though, is with it being like forced to stay home because of the well, not forced, but you know what I'm saying, with the restrictions, and then also having to stay home because of working from home. It's a lot of home.
Oh yeah.
That's a lot of home.
So 30 years ago, you started in this industry. What if this was if the pandemic was 30 years ago, how would it be right now? Like how would you do business?
Well, the thing is, 30 years ago, it's really hard to say because when we started, it was such a different business than it is now.
Uh,
And so I might not have been as good at it. Maybe I wasn't. I don't know. Like back then, I had, I was able to identify a gift that I had of being able to see two dimensionally. And so, I can sort of see what people look like flat. And so when I look at a face, it may be the most beautiful girl, the most handsome guy. But if I don't think they're going to photograph quite right, then I usually won't sort of encourage them to model. And that was a gift that Eileen Ford identified in me at an early age. And so I was able to really flourish in something that, you know, I was definitely meant to do. When you go back 30 years, you think, now there's so much of it's based on how many likes you have and how many followers you have and how much influence you have. Looks are being a little bit less as important in terms of traditional modeling looks. And so it might have been a different ballgame.
wow. Is it tough on you at times to see this new ball game of its more influence and all that entering the
Well, it
field?
isn't, it isn't because for me, I like a challenge. Like I'm pretty, I've got a lot of chutzpah, I guess is the word for it. And so the thing for me is that it's a learning curve,
Yeah,
but we're doing well.
yeah.
We're doing very well with the learning curve.
So
And
good.
2021, I'm really shifting my focus to start to want to represent a lot more very powerful influencers. You see, in the past, we would find a face and we would develop them and we would turn them into a top model or a star, as you say, right? Now, because of the skills I've developed and the connections I've made and the people I've worked with through all these years, I could now approach people with 4 million followers and say, listen, I'd love to be your agent or your manager and manage someone that's already sort of paved the road for themselves and made it. And so in the past, you
Mm,
would never take someone that was already a star and just take over the management. You would build them up. And
okay.
that forms that bond. Whereas now I'm at a point where I could take on, and I am taking on some new people, but it's just sort of confidential right now.
No, of course. I love that you're always thinking and just so creative all the time. It's pretty cool.
Well, it's sort of the way you have to be, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing is that for me, I'm lucky because I was born like this. Like
Mhm.
for me, I've been asked before, like, how did you know, or how did you fall into a job that wasn't work? And for me, I spoke one time as a keynote at a teachers convention. You know, when you get teachers break, like
Yeah.
you have teachers convention. So I was a keynote speaker one time, and like for me, I'm not that eloquent in some ways. So I was freaking out. But I created a talk called From McDonald's to Milan because I used to work at McDonald's. And what I said in there is I've thought about this a lot. And when I look back, I thought, how could I tell a kid or a person that they could fall into the luck that I had in terms of doing what you love? And I developed this very basic strategy, and it is this. I said, if you listen to the things that your mom and your dad and all the people that know you the best tell you you should be. Like, oh my gosh, Zach, you were always playing with trucks when you were little. You had a knack for whatever. They're always saying your fingers are so long, you should be a piano player, right? You hear those things,
Oh
right? But you,
yes.
you flush them out. And then I said, you should write all those things down. Like, write down those things, even if you dismiss them completely because you think your mom's crazy or your dad's crazy or whoever, write them down. Then you need to go and do a list of things that you would dream to do. Even if you don't even know what the profession is, if you would dream to be whatever jobs you see other people doing that you think, oh, I would love to be able to do that, right? And then the third thing is really simple. go take an aptitude test, you know, the ones that you would
Oh
use
yeah.
in a top employment firm or a university, but answer the questions honestly. You can't answer them the way you think that those dream jobs that you want would answer them. You have to be honest. Like,
Mm.
don't say, you know what I'm saying, right?
Oh, I
And
100%
when it
agree.
spits out the results, that really is those things that your skills fall. And then if from the list that it spits out, you can go back
Mhm.
and look at the other two lists and find something on the three lists, like a common denominator, a common thing, that's your dream job. So I did it, and I would be doing what I'm doing today.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Did you know from like a young age though that this is who I am, or
Well,
like
I
some of the
played with Barbies.
characteristics?
I played with Barbies, for goodness sake. So when I was at the Stettler Chamber of Commerce, it's a very small town, and my grandmother, Gertrude Streit, was a past recipient and a fairly well-known character in the city. Trisha Helfer was from just outside of Stettler.
Oh, okay.
And so when she gave Trisha this honorary award from the Stettler Chamber of Commerce, this is years ago when she won Supermodel of the World, my grandma goes up and she says, I'd like to introduce my grandson. And she goes, you know, I used to always say to Kelly and his mother, you know, Alan, he's always playing with Barbies. And my mom said, yeah, no, we just have to let him do what he wants. And she goes, well, I'd like to introduce my grandson, Kelly Streit, and now he plays with real Barbies. And the thing is that Trisha was standing right beside me, and she looks like a Barbie doll. So it was actually so hilarious because, once again, looking back to what I did when I was young, that was something I loved to do. I loved playing with Barbies because I loved dressing them and putting on little things. And the thing is, so for me, it sort of, I was lucky. Like, I fell into a job that is something that I would do even if I wasn't at work.
You're so passionate. Like you are one guy that just you love it. You breathe it. It's just who you are. It's built. Every little particle of you is talent. Like you, that's what you love. Just say.
Well, it depends. I like to be like that about anything I get involved in, and it's
Okay.
good and it's bad, Zach. Because the bad side of it is I went through about a serious depression too, and so when you're like that and you have that level of passion and determination inside you, the downside of that is you can think dreadful things about yourself, and your mind can play tricks on you just as bad. Like, you can feel your emotions are stronger, and so you are misunderstood, and you can get very depressed and anxious. And so the good of it is the living and full of life, you know, which I project and I give off a lot of that, and I am that person. But the bad of it is that it can, if your mind starts to get funny on you, it can trick you and starting to think all kinds of things that are in no way true, and you know, these anxiety monsters and things that are of no benefit.
Do you have another side to you that no one else knows, where you're at home and you're
Oh, for sure.
Kelly? That's an introvert, like an introverted Kelly.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm alone. Most of the times I'm really comfortable with my own company, which people think, oh, he's the kind of person that always has to be around people. That is so not true.
Ah.
And the thing is, and I'm a Gemini. I mean, I'm not hardcore horoscope or anything like that, but I am the true definition of that astrological sign, because I am absolutely two different people.
Hmm.
And so I am definitely, I wouldn't go as far as to say an introvert, but I avoid many things. And yeah, but when I'm engaged, I'm very engaged.
Kelly, how did you get into a depression? Did you see it coming over years, or did it
Well,
just
you know, the
happen over
funny
a
thing
month?
is, no, it happened very quickly. The thing is for
Oh,
me,
Kelly, just a side note, anything that we talk about, I can not put and put. It's
no, you can put anything I say,
yeah,
absolutely anything I say, you can say publicly, because I'm an open book. I believe that,
of
you
course.
know, I believe in living that life of just putting your positive and your negative forward. So there's nothing you need to edit.
Perfect. Okay.
Um, so the thing for me is that you know, I had some life circumstances happen. I'm not going to get into details of those, but there are things that anybody would be very sad about, you know, or depressed about. And I wasn't really that sad about some of them. And I was thinking, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Right. And then it started to reflect on some different things about my childhood and things like that. And so I was just in a very sort of sad state, I would say. And so I decided I wanted to take a bit of a break from the industry. And then some people I was working with chose to sort of use that as an opportunity to go out on their own. And just that whole energy around being abandoned like that a little bit made me really abandoned, because I'm the one that abandoned. Like, I left the industry, right? It was a comedy of errors. Like, it was um it was something that just I couldn't handle, because I was already dealing with some personal issues, and the thing is that my father had passed away, and just some different things like that everybody goes through. And so I was dealing with those. And so when this came on top of that, when my business model changed dramatically in the middle of that time, it really had a serious impact on me. And that saying where they say the straw that breaks the camel's back, it was that. I said to Steph, I said, I'm going downstairs. I just have to process this, because something had happened that really bothered me. And I never came upstairs basically for 2 years.
Wow.
Like, I mean, when I say that, I came up for, to go do little errands or whatever, but I would go straight back to the basement. And I did Christmas with the family, and I went to one thing that I had to go to in Edmonton, but I'd never been in the Edmonton office or mode office. I'd never met some of the staff. And so it was very dramatic, and people just couldn't believe it. People thought that I was either really sick, like physically sick, like with cancer or something like that, or they just thought, what's going on? I moved, because it's not like me. But I was here the whole time. I just literally went into this reclusive, introverted state, and I got into fish tanks and things. Like, I had all these fish tanks.
Oh,
So when I
okay.
saw the Alexander McQueen documentary at the last days of his life, and I saw that how he got into fish, I was like really freaked out by that. I was with another person who had just had a family member who had taken their life, and we were both I didn't know that was going to be a part of the documentary. And I was very shook by that, because it was exactly what I got into, fish tanks. Like, I had like 20 of them. I had stingrays and all this stuff. And so, yeah, I just became a complete introvert, and it was triggered by just something. I don't blame anyone for it. I don't blame it, because it's my own fault what I went through. And I reflected on maybe why those things happened to me, and I came out a better person. So I'm happy.
How many years were you in it?
Well, in the real funk, it was probably 2 or 3. And then I came out of the basement and started hanging out basically in the master bedroom, and still very reclusive, like not being seen by anyone. I was never thinking I was ever going back into this industry. Like, I had literally erased it from my mind. Michael was running the agency for me. He did a fantastic job. And I just didn't really feel like I needed to. And it was so funny, because my daughter knew I owned a modeling agency, of course, but I was so unengaged that I would even deny my own identity. Like, at her school events, like, some people come and say, "Are you Kelly Streit?" And I'd be like, "No, but I get it all the time." And it was that bad. And so I just didn't want to talk about my old life. It was weird.
Were
Yeah.
you ashamed of your past or something in your life, or you
No,
just
I wasn't ashamed. I
comfortable
was
in your
over
own
it, because
skin?
I wasn't ashamed. I was over it. I was like,
Over.
for
Okay.
me, it was like, I'd been hurt. Like, really, I'd been hurt. And so I just was paranoid, I would say, because I thought that everyone didn't like me anymore, and that they didn't want to work with me anymore, because I'm so aggressive and I talk so much, and I'm so, I don't know, gregarious, I guess, but that's a good word. Like, some people would say obnoxious. It depends how you look at it, right? So
You are loved, by the way. I just want to say that.
pardon me, sorry.
Just a reminder, you are loved.
Yeah, I know I am. Well, and that's the
Oh,
thing. That's how I came out of it. That is how I came out of it. Was a human being looked in my eyes and told me that. And so if I ever get an opportunity to speak about this topic, for people who are dealing with severe depression and mental health, that's what I would say, is that if you're questioning whether or not you should reach out to that person or literally intercede, like get right in their face and look in their eyes, I would say yes. Because it happened so quickly. The cloud lifted so quickly, and I got back to being me so quickly, that it was like, you always think, what if that would have happened 2 or 3 years earlier? That moment that lifted the cloud for me, which was with a person here in Calgary at the core.
wow. Do you look back and say, like, regret that moment, or would you call it time wasted,
Oh,
or would you
no,
say
no, no, I
time
don't regret
healed?
it. I
Time
mean, I'll
healed.
tell you, Chloe was getting into makeup, and
Okay.
she didn't realize, like, I think she knew, I don't know, you'd have to ask her, but I don't think she realized the extent of how connected I was in this world. And so, but I was feeling really good. Like, I was no longer really depressed. I was taking her back and forth to school. I would go out once in a while. I would go to places, like, nothing to do with the modeling or fashion industry, though.
Mhm.
So still pretty at home, a lot, actually. So what happened is the core opened, and this new Sephora opened up in the core. And And I was so paranoid to go down there because I thought the people from Holt Renfrew, which was one of my biggest clients, like I basically did everything for them. I had this feeling, because it's your mind playing tricks on you, that they didn't like me and that they wouldn't want to work with me again, that there was all this something. I didn't know what it was. It was manufactured. It's mental health, right? So I called and I said, where is the Sephora in the mall? And they were like, oh, it's in the middle of the mall. And they told me where. And I said, okay, I'll take you. And so Steph said, are you sure, Kelly? Because this is the first time you've been downtown in like 6 years. 6 years to that mall. With the exception, I went to their opening, but I was in and out of that really fast, the new Holt Renfrew opening, because the divisional vice president, Deborah Kerr, is a dear friend of mine for like 30 years. And I've known her since we first started in Red Deer. When I started in Red Deer, I would do shows for her in Edmonton when she was the manager there. Now she's the divisional vice president. I had this feeling like she didn't like me anymore and that the whole Holt Renfrew people had turned on me and stuff, but it was all wrong. Because
was it all in here?
all of it, because they had all reached out on Facebook. Deb had probably tried to contact me 20 times. And like, but I was literally, Zach, like I had tuned that all out. Like I didn't even remember her reaching out to me. So in the mall, we go in, it's all going great. But after we leave Sephora, Chloe goes, Dad, can I go to H&M? And I'm like, where's H&M? And she's like, there. And it's right outside the menswear doors. So I started to panic. I did have a little bit of an anxiety attack. I'm not going to lie. And I sat down on the bench just in the middle of the mall. There's these benches, and I sat down there. And as serendipity would have it, I call my life a serendipitous life now. Deborah Kerr, who is the divisional vice president, is in on a Saturday afternoon. She comes up the escalator to menswear, and I see her. And I'm like, Deb? And she looks out and she's like, Kelly? And it was like she'd seen a ghost, because she was like literally someone I talked to every other day. And she had not seen me or heard from me in 6 years or more. So we kind of ran toward, well, I ran into the store. I don't remember the whole thing, but in my mind, it was like a movie. And I gave her a hug and I was crying a little bit. And then she started to tear up a bit. And it was very emotional. And
it's funny because as much as of the fear you had and you're sitting on that bench, you saw her and you still called her out. And you're like,
well, no, I did, because it just was like, I just couldn't. I loved her so much. And I thought she loved me, but she did. Like you say, it was in my head. And so when I ran into her, she looked at me and I could just tell by the way she looked at me. She goes, where have you been? And just the way she looked at me and said it, I started to tear up. And then it was amazing. She, like, all our managers came up and people were like, oh my God, Kelly. And the reception was so warm. So Chloe comes out of H&M and she goes, Dad, what's going on? Like I say, she doesn't realize I have all these connections and these people. Like I'd never been to Holt Renfrew with Chloe. And so Deborah goes, is this Chloe? Because she knew her as a baby. And I said, yes. And she goes to Colleen, one of her managers. She goes, or not Colleen, I can't remember who it was. Will you take Chloe around and just show her the store and get her some fun little bag or something? So Chloe got this bag of all this swag and wonderful gifts. And I talked to Deb for probably, I don't know, an hour and a half. And it was very emotional. Yeah. And she basically confirmed to me that it was all in my head. And then I went and got a phone, or a SIM card for a phone, because I wasn't even using a cell phone and stuff back then. And then Hung, who was a makeup artist I had worked on, I didn't really find him. He sort of found me, but I really helped launch him. He heard that I was out that day, or maybe he didn't hear, I don't know, but I got this call from Morocco on my call display. And that night, like I just got home from Holtz, I was chatting with Deb. Chloe was freaking out because I didn't talk at all that whole time. And I don't stop talking. That must have been unique. Yeah. Anyways, the whole thing was just a lot, Zach. I can talk forever about it. But that night when she was going to bed, Steph said, Hung helped me and talked me into getting back in the business too. So both in one day, it was December 15th, 2015. I remember it very clearly. Deb said, we're going to start using you like crazy now. Ever since then, we've done just about everything for Holt Renfrew. So she put her money where her mouth was in terms of friendship. Like she really did love me. And I felt it so deeply. And I already knew it, but my mental state wasn't letting me believe it. Mm-hmm. And then just, it's like a cloud lifted. So when Steph was putting Chloe to bed that night, she said, I heard Chloe say, Dad is so weird. And Steph goes, why? And she goes, he just doesn't stop talking. And I'd never known him to be like this. Like she didn't know that, Dad. And Steph goes, well, that's your real dad, Chloe. Like, that's your real dad. And it was powerful, that moment.
Wow. That gave me...
I'm getting a bit emotional. But the thing is, it was very emotional. And the thing is, for me, sorry, my voice is cracking a little bit. But anyways, the point is that was the beginning. Like, when that cloud lifted in my head, it was a whole new day.
That just gave me chills. Like,
well, no, and I'm crying a little bit, but I don't want to. But no, I always get upset with that story because, in a good way, because it just shows the power of kindness. And like Deb was so good to me, and Hung was so nice. And they're two very influential people. And it just pulled me out of a funk.
Whew.
But that actually happened. And so the thing for me is that that's why I'm passionate about mental health. And that actually, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, Zach, I didn't mean this to happen.
It's okay. You know, it's okay. You know,
But the point is that ever since then, I've been so happy, and I'm doing exactly what I love and I've always been meant to do. And I wasn't compassionate about mental health that much before. And so now I understand it. I do understand how something very little on the grand scheme of life can cause a switch to flick. And like me, it was a camel's that breaks the camel's back. But people always dig and say, what was it? What was it? I don't want to talk about it because I have to take responsibility for my part of why these people abandoned me or left me or went on their own. And that's okay. Like, it's completely fine. Like, people are allowed to do their own thing or not want to work with you anymore. I don't begrudge that at all. I take
as long as you find forgiveness in it and just let it be now.
well, it's not even a case of forgiveness, because it's like no one's asked for forgiveness, but I've just let it go. Right? Because obviously, like I said, it takes two to tango, and I just was unaware of it. But in hindsight, I've been able to try to not be as I don't know. It is
Ellie, before the dark years, who you were, would you say you're that same person, like you're back at being the same person, or a better version of?
Oh, a way better version, because in 6 years, you think about things, you contemplate, you wonder why. But a lot of what I was wondering why about wasn't true. It was my mind playing tricks on me. Like, I thought, all these models that left us and stuff too, like the local models, they didn't like me, but they all loved me. They just didn't have the right, they just, anyways, like I say, without getting into all the details, and I really don't want to, because
There's no need to.
Exactly. It's a past chapter of my life, and I grew and I learned from it. And so for other people going through divorces or anything where there's two sides and two people warring, you can get so caught up in trying to see your point of view. I think the most important thing we need to do is always try and look at things from other people's perspective and grow from it. Right? Because the thing is that nobody's ever going to be all things to all people. And so I realized that I always wanted to be all things to all people, but
we always want to be liked by everybody, but that's never going
to. Oh, it's true. And I can't be. Like, I'm going to turn a lot of people off.
Does it hurt, especially in your kind of industry, where you have to say to someone like, yeah, you have that dream of being a model, but I don't see it happening?
Well, it does. But the thing is, the way I've always done it is I don't look at it like any of the reasons why we would say no as personal, even though they may see it personal, because it is a business. Like, when you become a model and you choose to become a model, you choose to objectify yourself. And people don't really think about that. But you choose to become that pair of scissors or that phone or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you're shopping at Costco, and you're saying, I don't like the way the buttons look on that phone, and I love the color of that screen. Like, you're talking about that object, and you're just making a decision on whether you want to purchase it, right? And so when you become a model, when you choose to want to do that, you have to erase the personal side of it. And you have to understand the people telling you the answers that they're going to tell you are not personal, they're objective. But because it's humans, they take it subjectively. So I try and always give this story I'm telling you right now about the shopping for a product, that you've made yourself a product. And so you have to be able to take the criticisms. Like, you pretend that ghetto blaster or that a phone has a personality. Think about how it would feel when you're talking about its features that way. It would be very hurt feelings sometimes if you didn't pick it to buy, right? Well, you as a model, you have to be able to handle that, because you've made yourself a commodity in a certain way. You've allowed yourself to be bought and sold, like in terms of being hired for your image. And so you need to have thick skin, and that's life with rejection.
No, of course. But right? Back in the day, you know how you'd just be like models, and this is what it is. Now, like you said, there's influencers, there's all these different little elements. Is it hard for you to understand, okay, well, I'm not just looking for Vogue magazine now, or this brand. Now I'm looking at, okay, what if this person goes on this commercial or an online commercial? Have you had to like switch your mindset a little bit?
We have. And the thing is, we have a division on our website now called Against the Grain. And it's for people that are against the grain, that are the most unlikely of characters to be models. And we're really, really putting a lot of emphasis on that division, because, and especially with our plus models and our curve models and different things like that, with all the diversity that we have on our board, we've always had all that diversity. But it's exciting for me because it's a new challenge, and
Of course.
I do understand personalities, I do understand character, and so I think we're going to excel in that area too. The change is good for me. It's not something I'm scared of at all.
What I admire about you is you have your finger on the pulse, like literally on social media. You're really upfront with digital. How have you always been upfront with the latest stuff, or is it just new to you and you're learning as you go, or how did this
Well,
happen?
we did Instagram before it was like years ago. I can't remember when it was. I think it's early 2000s, maybe.
Mhm.
A programmer, Donovan, we created a website together, and the front page of our website was Instagram. At that time, it was before blogs were called blogs, but we would post. I would all day long as jobs would come in or exciting stuff. Like today, just two more exciting things come in that I want to put on my feed would come in. We would just post it. Like whether it's a new face or some funny thing, just exactly how I handle my Streit mode feed right now. And so we were doing that in 2000. And that website, our traffic, the modemodels.com website's traffic just went through the roof. And when I would go around Paris and Milan and New York, I'd see on their computers their what do you call it? Their favorites, you know, their buttons. And Mode Models was one that they would check every day, sometimes just refresh a couple times a day, because they were just thought it was funny or they were fascinated by what I was putting up. So we were doing that well before it even happened. And so the thing for me is I think I'm made for this in a way, you know, like I kind of feel like it's kind of made for me, you know?
No, for sure. Did you? You're not from like a big city or anything. You're from small town Alberta originally.
Oh my goodness, yes. As small and as redneck as it gets.
It's not Red Deer, was it Red Deer?
Innisfail. So,
Innisfail.
well, first of all, I was born in Wetaskiwin, which is on Highway 2. Then I moved to Stettler, and then we moved to Rocky Mountain House, and then Innisfail.
Just it amazes me because you know you're literally larger than life in so many ways, and you came from the small town. Like that's so cool. Like growing up, were you like this wild card kid, or
Oh my goodness.
how
Yeah.
are you?
I roller skated to school in grade 5 or grade 6. I can't remember what it was. And I would get beat up. Like I'd get threatened to get beat up and stuff. Like, I mean, it was bad. I got teased a lot. But I was even feisty back then. Like I wore these bright blue roller skates, and I literally would roller skate to a school in a town where it was all this rural community. And I got called every name in the book. And oh yes.
Because like fashion, playing with Barbies, all these things that are
Yeah.
normal, but
Yeah.
I bet you that aren't normal in rural.
No, they're not. But the thing is, I also had a lot of guts because I don't know.
You're fearless.
I don't, and I love the new thing too, where people like to identify with a certain thing. I don't think people should be put in boxes, you know,
Mhm.
in any aspect of their life, personality, sexuality, whatever, because I believe you just need to let people be themselves, like, period. Like, all these labels are just too much for me. And I've never, ever succumbed to it. Never, ever. And like for being picked on, I was always resourceful too. Like one time they took all the tires off my car.
Oh,
And so we called Newman Ford Mercury, my friend. I knew someone, and they brought a tow truck and put the tires back on while I watched. With the guys that wanted to see this guy all dressed up to go to his job at Le Chateau, I was wearing like stirrup pants and hair all backcombed, like you know. And the thing is like Pete Burns. And the thing is that they wanted to see this F word. I'm not going to say the word because it's so bad. Put his tires back on his car. And I thought, screw you. I'm not going to let you see that. I got some mechanic to do it for me. This is in grade 12. And they put the 4 tires on. I said, can you please tow it to my garage? And I drove a brand new car off. I squealed out in the parking lot and away I went. And they were looking at me just like, oh my God. Like, because they stacked them all on top of the hood, like not the hood, the top of the car, the roof, and saying, we're going to see the, you know, F word, go put the tires back on his car. And I'm like, no, actually, you're not going to see that.
I love that.
Yeah. So I've always had a certain level of chutzpah, but it definitely did hurt me. Like it was really mean, and kids are just mean. Like different back in that day, being different was bad. Like they went after you for it. Nowadays, being different is almost working for people.
It's beautiful, I think, being different.
It is a beautiful thing. And so I'm just really happy in life right now. And I go through my life with the motto, Jack, that you're going to find whatever you're looking for. So if someone says to you, he's loud, he doesn't stop talking, he's whatever, me, a narcissist, whatever they want to call me. If you meet me and you're looking for that because you listen to that person talking about me or whatever, you're going to find it. I will check every box. I am loud. I do talk of myself a lot, and they're not as good qualities, but shit, it's like, it's me, right? And the thing is, but I do love other people too. But if you're looking for the negative, you're not going to find that, right?
Well,
But
I
if
met
someone,
you at a, you know, I'd already met you before, but I met you at a party once. I didn't know many people, and you came up to me and you started introducing me to all these people, and you're like, come hang out with us, Zach. Come hang out with us. And I was like, wow, that was just so nice of him. Like, we've only met
I'm a
once.
connector. I love connecting people. That's my gift. I'm a super
But
connector.
you literally like said, come hang out with me, and I was like, all right, are you sure? You're like, I'm like,
Yeah, but you're got a lot of chutzpah too, Zach. Like I saw that in you, like with all the stuff you're doing on social, like your fingers on the pulse too. And so, and the other side of that too, Zach, is that if someone said, "Oh, he's amazing. I love Kelly. He's so loud and gregarious, and he's going to be a lot. You're going to freak out. You'll never meet anyone like him." I'll check all those boxes too. So in life, we all need to go through life knowing that you are going to find whatever you're looking for.
do you ignore what people say, or do you still care about what?
Oh,
people
I ignore it now. Now I do not give a shit. And the thing is that because it's part of who I am, and there's so many people that are so well known and done so well in life that people trash them all the time, you know, and they're still very successful. And I just realized, like, it's nobody, like RuPaul says, it's nobody's business what people say about you. And the thing is, it does hurt me. There's no question it hurts me. I'm not going to lie.
We're all human beings.
But you will find what you're looking for. So if I could give any advice to your audience, is to, in life, look for the things that you want to find in people, and don't look for the negativity, because if you do, it's just not a great way to live. It's just not. You'll find it's so easy to go down that road, and that can start to manifest in negative thoughts about yourself. And then before you know it, you're just yucky. You're just a yucky kind of grumpy person.
It's that self-dialogue that we keep telling ourselves, even when
And and people like you and I have a lot of it, because we're always thinking, right? And so
there's no off. There's no off switch.
there is, well, I've gotten better at the off, I'll be honest with you. But the thing is I do go. Like with Contemporary Calgary, I'm on that board, and I love that organization, and I put my heart and soul into it. And the thing is, and so anything I do 100%. But I really have learned since the down period that I need to look for the things that I want in my life, and I want fun, positive people. And if I find that quality in people, I don't care what other people say about them. I'm going to embrace them, just like I embraced you at that event.
Yes. Thank you for that, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kelly, who was your rock in the darkest times, other than, you know, like, who was helping you? Like, was it Steph that was like, hey, Kelly?
She was, but Steph also is very like, she let me go through it. She was always there for me. And my daughter, the good thing is my daughter was oblivious to it, really, because she was so young. And what you have to understand is I still would drive her to school, and I still would like talk to her once in a while and stuff. Like it was just a different dad. But it wasn't like I was a bad person. I was just very different, very quiet, very like stoic, to be honest with you. And Jade Davis, a good friend of mine, said one time she talked to one of our new staff members at the Calgary office, because we did have a Calgary office, even though people were telling people we weren't have an office here, we did. And Jade said to Jessica one time, she said, so what's Kelly like? Like, you know, and she goes, oh, he just comes in here and he just looks around and doesn't really say anything and just kind of walks off. And Jade goes, Kelly? Like Kelly is like that. And so I was literally like, it was a straw that broke the camel's back. I was completely like inside, like completely.
Did you and Steph meet each other?
High school. Become best friends in high school, yeah.
And have been together ever since?
Yeah, we've had periods we've been on again, off again, figuring out life. But the thing is that we're like best friends, and we had Chloe, and yeah, she's my life partner, and she's just a great person, and she's a complete and absolute total opposite to me. And I'm grateful for this family I have. I'm a blessed man to have a family like this.
Is it unique coming home and it's an opposite of who you are? So like when it comes to fashion and model and all these things, it's like totally probably different.
Well, Steph has always worked at the agency. She still does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Kelly, how did you started in Red Deer? I've seen a picture online in Red Deer. Tell me a little bit about your first office in Red Deer of Mode Models.
Well, it was in the old courthouse building, and it was actually like the office we have now. It was just a little tiny cubby hole, and I was a kid at high school. I had no money, and I just started I started an agency, and
What was mom and dad like when you did that?
well, they were I think they thought I was a bit crazy. I borrowed the money from my brother-in-law. He co-signed a loan for me for $5,000 to open the agency. And the thing is that my mom and dad just didn't like, nobody would think a modeling agency would succeed in Red Deer. And so um, I paid back that $5,000 loan, and the rest is history. I come to Calgary fairly shortly thereafter, though. And no, Edmonton actually first. We opened in Edmonton first, and then Calgary. But we were always seeking bigger places. But I was lucky enough right off the get go to find like Kim Renenberg and Trisha Helfer and two big supermodels that were ended up being signed to Ford.
Was that your biggest break, Trisha Helper? And
Well, yeah, when Trisha won the Ford Supermodel of the World contest, it was a big deal for a kid from Red Deer. And what happened was that the
Kelly,
media.
sorry, how old were you at this time?
I was 20. It would have been 92, and I opened mode in 87. So 5 plus 8, 5 plus, I was around 24, 25.
Wow.
I opened mode at 20. And so the thing is that the media focused its attention like on me, and that it really wasn't this one model. It was this guy from Alberta that was finding all these superstars, you know? And so that's how I got Maclean's 100 Canadians to watch, and a lot of major,
Quite a
press.
bit of accolades. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And when Maclean's maybe the 100 Canadians to watch, it's really fun to look back on that because, you know, Eric Lindros is in there. Jason Kenney is in there. It says a young liberal. It says Alberta's young upstart liberal, Jason Kenney. He's in the feature. Julie Payette, who is the governor general or was the governor general, she's in there. The astronaut, like Scott Thompson is in there from Kids in the Hall. Like, it's quite an illustrious group. So it was a huge honor. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, I worked for the Fords, so I was half time in Red Deer and half the time working for Ford models.
Okay, nice. And was Trisha your biggest start?
Well, Kim Renenberg was my first big star, and she signed with Ford. And then we had Amy Webb and lots of models. Richard Lehman won Male Model of the Year in IMTA New York. And we had like lots of models travel all around the world. We had girls going to Japan, all kinds of stuff.
What is one of your most memorable moments throughout the career?
Probably the day of the Versace's. Like when Trisha was doing Versace and I went to Milan, and I had a friend, James Junker, who was a head designer at his own clothing line, and his brother is a big photographer here, Gerard Junker. I was in Milan, and Trisha was doing Versace. She was with Linda Evangelista, Christy Turlington, Naomi Campbell, Claudia Schiffer, all the big supermodels. And being backstage with Gianni Versace, and then meeting Donatella because she was working under Gianni at the time. And then that whole day I sat beside like Ivana Trump at the show. RuPaul opened the show, and he was like, so that would have been in 92. So that was literally 30.
You must have been, how old would he have been?
That's 30 years ago. I was 23, there you go, or 24. And it was 1992. And the thing is it was 91 actually. Oh. I can't remember. Anyways,
early 90s.
The day of the Versace's, and then I got invited to the after party, and I was wearing Versace, and then Donatella and Trisha got me to get a haircut with Orbe, the famous hairdresser, and so I had hockey like long hair, and they said let's cut it all off. So Orbe cut my hair, and it was in there with Yasmin Lebon and Simon Lebon from Duran Duran. Like that whole experience was just wild. RuPaul opening the show like 30 years ago as this new drag queen. Supermodel was the song. Trisha opened, then Trisha came out after with Kate Moss and her. And it was just a whole moment. That was a time in fashion where models were celebrities, and these famous sayings of Linda saying, I'm not going to get out of bed for less than 10,000 a day. Like, I am so blessed to have began my career in that era.
Can you imagine being a settler guy just sitting with Gianni and all these people?
Oh yeah, but the thing is, I fit right in. I fit right in. Like, I was not one bit like scared or nervous or anything, and that's a gift. Like, I was just chat, and just right in there with them, like in no time, and getting my hair cut by Orbe and partying with Donatella, and Trisha's got this blue hair, and like it was just a moment. And that day, you'll never forget it. Like a kid from small town Alberta, spending a day with the Versace's, with Gianni and Donatella and RuPaul and every major supermodel in the world. And then getting pictures with Naomi Campbell and Stephanie Seymour and all of that stuff, Linda, Claudia, everyone. It was just amazing. And they liked me. Like, they had so much fun. It was.
Were people nice to you being a young person though? at that
To my
time?
face, yeah, they were like, I mean, I'm pretty happy-go-lucky, so I think they're nice at first. I'm sure their heads they were like going, "Oh my god, honey, that he's a lot, like that, she's a lot,"
The,
like just like you know. But I was just like, I didn't care. I just barrel through.
well, the times are sure changed because before you just see them on TV, magazines, and
Oh yeah.
that's it. Like you wouldn't see like, hey, I'm at home, guys, on my phone. This is what I'm doing. None of that stuff.
But the agents, you see, when I was scouting for those agents over there, they saw my talent and they respected me. So I had a great respect in the industry. So they would open those doors for me. Like the agent in Milan of Naomi would say, Naomi, I'd love you to meet one of the best model scouts in the world. Kelly Streit found Trisha and some of the girls you work with. And I'd say, oh my hi. And so, you know, and I just would take every bit of advantage to turn that into more.
Yeah. How is Gianni, by the way? You got to talk about him
Oh,
a
he
little
was
bit.
very, very charismatic, and just like he's the response. He's the reason why supermodels became supermodels. He loved the girls, like he loved the models and the girls like the way I do, like
Mhm.
just passionate to the core about it, right? And the thing is, and so, and Linda will say that, like he's the reason why she is where she is today, or where she be, how she became that.
What was his it factor or his aura? You know, some of them have that. They have something.
I don't know. I just know that I loved his clothes. They were so over the top and so loud,
They're
like
beautiful.
unbelievable, right? But so incredible, like artworks like that geometrically silk
Oh,
skirt.
love it.
But I bought it too. Like I was spending way more than I had. Like I had some of it got given to me,
Yeah.
but I had Versace jackets and Versace shirts, and like I had beautiful clothes. And I was quite a bit thinner back then, and so I looked good. Oh yeah, I was like, I was living my life.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then you obviously started here, and you've gone to some amazing parties.
Oh yeah, just even recently, this last year in February 2020, I got invited to William Morris Endeavor Oscar party, the pre-Oscar party
Oh
they
wow.
do, which is everyone was there. Scorsese was there, Jake Gyllenhaal was there, Joaquin was there. He won the next night for Best Actor for Joker.
Joker.
I met Miley, Cyrus, and we had the best time this last February, and that was a whole moment too.
Yeah. Did she
And
come in like a wrecking ball or what?
no, I went up to her. Like I was in the front row with Ivan, and Ivan Bart was talking to like Jeff Bezos' girlfriend Lauren Sanchez and all these people. And Ivan's the president of IMG, and he introduced me. He took me to the show, and then I was talking to Kate Hudson. I went up to say hi to her because she's a friend of mine, one of
You
my
know
models.
Ivan though. How long you guys known each other from?
Ivan worked at Ford at the same time as me when we were in our 20s. So we have a 30-year friendship, and so we worked together very young, and so he knows what I am and who my gift is and stuff, and so he still sees me, I think, and respects me as that agent, like that could be in New York. If I wouldn't have left, I could still be in New York I would be doing big things, maybe running, some huge
Can I
organization.
ask you something? At times, have you been like looking back and like, I wish I went to New
Oh,
York or
of
LA?
course. Absolutely. For that, not at times, all the time. But the thing is, but I always reconcile to happiness because I realize I got a family, I got a daughter, I've got so many amazing things that they don't have. And I
Mm.
have grass, they don't have grass. And the beauty of it, Zach, is that when you make an indelible impression on those people and you carry through your whole career, which I did, now I'm invited as a guest. So when I land in LA, Ivan still takes me. It's a coveted party. You can't get people in, but he still chooses to take me to that party. And so I get to go to all these major events as a guest. Like I'm treated like gold by these people in New York and Paris and Milan and everywhere, LA. And so it's the same as if I was there, you know?
But you got to that level of being treated that way because of your integrity. You know, it
And
didn't just
not
happen
that
overnight.
it's a gift. It's not integrity. There's lots of people that have integrity. Our business is ruthless. It's because I have a gift. I'm good at what I do. Like I know how to manage careers. I know how to find models, and no one can take that away from me. I can't draw a stick figure. I can't balance a checkbook, but I know my industry, and I am a super connector. I know how to connect people.
Is there someone that you get nervous around, or have you met someone that you've got nervous around, like a celebrity or a model or somebody out there?
Really smart people, like really intellectual, kind of educated people. I get intimidated around because I'm not educated in that sense. But then the days I've got really good friends in that realm that are very powerful people, and they say the same thing about me. They find me overwhelming, and I don't know if they would say intimidating, but whatever. I've formed a great friendship with Peter Tritzakian.
Very
He's a
smart man. Yeah.
very smart man, and he's the opposite to me in many ways, but he's actually not. Peter's intelligent beyond belief, but he's also incredibly charismatic. He loves fashion and cool things, and he gets it, but he doesn't, you know he's not like Motormouth Mabel like me. you know? So it's just, I
And
don't
that's
know.
beauty in every form. Like that's what makes the world go around, right?
It's true.
You've got gifts. You've got gifts. Everyone's got.
Well, I think on my feet, like when I met Miley, how I met her, when you go back to that question, was that after I was talking to Kate and that in the front row and different people, Kris Jenner, I walked past her and I don't know her. And I looked down, she was sitting in the front row at Tom Ford. And I said, honey, I said, you are the best of both worlds and the baddest bitch here, you know, playing on Hannah Montana.
I love it.
And she laughed. It could go either way, that
Yeah.
comment, right? And I said, she laughed and I said, could I get a picture with you? And she goes, come sit down. Let's do a boomerang. And so she did a boomerang with me. And then all the press came in and took all these pictures. It's on my Instagram.
Okay.
And the thing is, and then they blurred me out when they put it the next day because they didn't know who I was. But the thing is she was so cute. And then I had that fan all the time. And then when I was walking out, my friends were shading me saying, oh my gosh, you just go up to people and get pictures taken. And I said, Miley, my friends are making fun of me saying that I asked you to do a boomerang. And so she comes right on the screen with me and goes, that was my idea, you know? And so my friends are like, oh my God, he really is with Miley, right? And so then I saw her at that second event. That was at Tom Ford show. And the William Morris Endeavor party was up in a mansion in Hollywood that night. So when I saw her at the second party, she saw me there. She said my name.
So that was what Patrick and Ari Emanuel?
Yeah, that's their party. They own William Morris Endeavor. That's right. Patrick Weitzel and Ari Emanuel. And the thing is, and Ivan works for them through IMG. And so at that party, she saw me again. And she said, Kelly. And so she had my fan, and then the night just carried on.
Oh,
I mean, she didn't follow me on Instagram, and she's not got her cell phone, but we had a very fun little moments together. And I think if I saw her again, she'd remember me.
Wow. Have you ever met someone or partied with someone and then you see them again and they're like, Kelly? And they remember you? Like even just meeting you once?
It's a gift. That it's true. They do a lot. They do remember me. It's all about making sort of an indelible impression. And I don't do it on purpose. But there's lots of people who meet me and they don't want to ever see me again because they don't like me. I'm too loud or I'm too not their cup of tea. And so they avoid me like the plague too. Like I'm fine with that. Like that's quote that goes on Instagram, Zach, what does it say? It says, you may be too much for some people. Those just aren't your people.
100%.
I live by that.
Well, Kelly, thank you so much for today.
Thank you.
All right. We'll chat soon.
Thanks, Zach. Bye.
Yeah.